everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Arkham. We had our baby. It is a boy. His name is Arkham St. Michael, Anda, and he was born on May 5th, 2020. I wanted to introduce him to you guys and talk a little bit about my birth. He came very fast. His due date was May 2nd, and he was 3 days late, but at 1:30 I started having contractions and my water officially busted. It was leaking since 9, but I didn't have contractions until 1:30 at 5 on 5/5. You saying hi? Move your shirt out of your way. And here he is. He was born at 6:28. I almost had him in the car, but he made it to the birth center and we had him there. He might be getting a little hungry, so he might be getting a little grouchy. But he was 7 pounds, 3 ounces, and he was 20.5 inches. And our rock star driver drove to the birth center without speeding at all or running any red lights, even though I was in agony and yelling no red lights because I started having to feel like I was going to push in the car. So here he is. Let's see his whole body. He's pretty long. A lot of people, when they get pictures of him, think he's big, but he's still pretty small. He did regain his birth weight within a week, his birth weight and an ounce. So he was 7'4" last time he was weighed at his 1 week, but now I'm sure he weighs more. We're not sure. Hopefully we'll find out next week. He poops a ton, and he pees a lot too. He's very healthy. Everyone has always been really surprised. He was advanced always in my stomach, and he's advanced out here. Are you looking at Papa? Hi. So basically, my water started leaking at 9 p.m.-ish. We had gone on a walk, and we came back, and I was like, oh, I think I'm leaking. And we called the midwife, and she was like, I don't know. It might not be your water. You're not contracting. Call me in the morning if nothing happens. So then I was like, okay. So I sent P to work, and I just put on a pad and kept leaking. And then at noon or at midnight, I started getting ready for bed, started cleaning, and I did the dishes, put them away, and I started cleaning the bathroom. And then I started dozing off around 1 o'clock in the morning, which is my typical bedtime. And then at 1:30, all of a sudden I was like, ow, that hurt. I just got woken up. So then I was laying in bed still, and I called P, and I was like, I don't know, you might need to come home. I think it's time. And he was like, are you sure? So then I stood up, and more water gushed out, and I started having regular contractions. My stomach started getting upset, and I was like, yep. And I wiped, and there was some blood, so then he was like, okay, I'm coming home. And then he got here, and we called the midwife, and it was it was probably about 2 a.m. when that happened, when we called her. And then from there, we just kept progressing. We were like, should we rest? Should we not? And I tried to lay down, but I was like, this is not comfortable. So then I just was walking around. I got in the shower. P was timing contractions and packing up the car, making us sandwiches for after. And then at 3-something, almost 4, we called the midwife again because at 4 o'clock my contractions were really close together. But I was still kind of talking through them and stuff, so she was I don't think
there's a difference between
the aftershocks of contractions,
and then it's like an earthquake almost.
Yeah,
it's you get the big one, and then you have the small ones, and then you get a big one, and then you get the small ones. Well, almost, that's what the almost was for.
So then she was like, maybe you're not timing them right, So
I was very confused on that.
So then he was just trying to keep talking to me, see which ones I could talk through, which ones I couldn't, what to write down. So she's like, call me in an hour, you're definitely having the baby today, but We don't know how soon. And we're about 40 minutes away. 50 minutes away from the birth center.
Speeding's like 40 minutes away.
So we were kind of like...
I made it there at 50.
We were kind of like, you know, we don't want to wait too long because we can't wait too long. Yeah. We're not right around the corner. So then we kept going. I kept like randomly wiping and I would have blood. Mm-hmm. And I get back in the shower and I was just trying to find a way to contract. And I was just walking around the apartment like moaning and just laboring around the apartment. Mm-hmm. Pacing. Dexter was asleep. P was still packing stuff and helping time contractions and everything. And then once it came 5 o'clock, my contractions were like 5 minutes apart, like pretty evenly. And the midwife was like, I don't know.
4. Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 minutes apart. I was like saying 5 or 6 because it was a lot of... So she was telling me, look for the big ones, but I feel, you know, after the whole thing, she was having the mixture of... They were actually big ones all the way through pretty much. But I was trying to just time the ones that I thought were big because like the way I would do it is if she couldn't talk to me and she was just waving me away, I was like, okay, that was a real big one. And then the smaller one, she was able to say, I don't know. That's all she kept saying.
I was like so. Leaning on our laundry basket. Yeah. I was everywhere.
But she was still just responding quickly, like,
and I was
just
like,
be quiet.
Leave me alone. Don't talk to me.
But I still kept talking to her. I had to make sure.
Like, how are you doing? Are you okay? I was like, obviously I'm not okay. But I kept thinking, like, this is just the beginning. Like, I thought that I would be pushing at, like, maybe noon, 1 o'clock, and we were already home by then. So I was kind of like, you know what? Like, just nut up because this is the beginning. Like, you're far from over. So, like, it's too late. We can't turn back now. So, I just kept thinking, like, it's going to get worse. So, like, this is nothing. And then at 5 o'clock when we called her back, she heard me in the background. P had, all the other times, both of us had been on the phone.
Yeah.
And she was like, maybe get in the shower. And I was like, oh, I'm in the shower, like, you know. So then at like 5 o'clock, she heard me. And I was literally, Dexter had just woken up. And I was on the floor crawling and moaning during a contraction. And she was like, you know what? Come in. So then we, like, started getting ready to go. P had already loaded the whole car, so it was pretty much just me. And I had to put on some clothes because I was pretty much naked the whole time pacing around the apartment. So then I put on a loose shirt and a maxi skirt. I don't even think I put on a bra. And I didn't put on underwear. Mm. And I was like, okay, like, we had our stuff. And we were literally, like, walking out to the car. And I, like, am in the parking lot, like, moaning and... like laboring.
Yeah, we were supposed to record a lot of it. We got some parts here and there.
We did get
we got the labor.
Yeah, we got me, like the whole thing of me pushing him out and everything.
Yeah. The only part is like the pre-labor right here and there that was going on in the apartment before we left. We didn't get any of that.
We just didn't know how long it was going to be. Mm-mm. We didn't know what.
And I couldn't record. Like I'm paying attention to everything else that we needed to get done. So like, it was hard for me to record. I mean, you can't record and then I'm timing him. So I'm like bouncing around.
And I thought we would be laboring at the birth center. Like I thought we would show up and have a few hours there of labor. So then we get to the car and I'm literally on the floor of our parking lot. Like trying to get myself in the car. Mm-hmm. And like I just turned sideways and reclined the seat and he hooked me in. And I was laying on my side and... I started texting when we got on the road, like texting our group text messages. And he was just driving and like he was driving a stick shift, staying in the speed limit. Yeah. And still comforting me through contractions and kind of timing them. And then once we got about 20 minutes away, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to push. So then I was like, oh my gosh, I need to push. And I started like pushing and it felt so good like during the contractions to push. So I started calling the midwife and I was like, we are like 20 minutes away and I need to push. And she was like, okay, just breathe through it. Don't push. Like just try to breathe through it. So I was in the car like full on laboring. Like, I don't know. I felt really loud, but P says I wasn't that loud.
Nah, she was like so in her seat, nice and comfy.
Oh my gosh, laboring while laying down is not comfy.
She was laying back in the seat, And
I was holding onto the car seat because it was behind P's seat.
So just in case this scenario, I had these waterproof car seat covers. But yeah, no, it was and we had a towel down, and she was just going through the whole.
And I like started putting my legs on the dash because I was like, oh my gosh, I need to push. But I was still sideways. And the sun was coming up and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of truckers on the road. But I had to reach my hand down to see what was happening because I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to push. And like, I don't know.
It was some blood.
And it was like all blood. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I just started wiping it on myself.
It was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it was a lot of blood and like thick blood. So when we got to the birth center, pretty much like we made it. And she came out to the car and she's like, I brought my gloves just in case. But they got me inside. I had to go up like 3 or 4 steps. I know. And we went inside and he ran out to get all our bags and stuff. And I was like, you know, she's like, can I check you? And I'm like, yeah, can I take my skirt off because it's filled with blood? And she was like, oh, okay. And I took it off. I don't even know how I got on the bed. I'm sure she helped me. But
you just crawled on there and just like laid back pretty much. You were just like, bloom, I'm done. That's it.
So then he had come in, set up the camera.
No water birth.
I know, people were like, did you have a water birth? I'm like, literally, I just got there and pushed this baby out.
There was no like water ready.
We got
didn't
there
ask
at
them
like
to
6
get
something.
any water ready. She literally just like, she laid on the bed and she was just like, all right.
The midwife was like,
that's
you're
it.
good, push when you're ready. And so like my first few pushes like weren't that good, but then once I started going there, like, you're doing so good, you're pushing so good, he's almost out. And I was like, yeah, right, they're lying to me, otherwise I would quit. And so I was like, this is going to be worse, like, it's going to get worse, like, so I just kept going, and Pete was like, honestly, I feel like it was like 10 pushes or so.
10 or less.
So they were like, you're pushing so good. And honestly, during it, once they started saying you're pushing so good, I could feel like my inner thigh muscle when I pushed, and I was like, thank goodness I did a ton of squats, like, in my life. And the midwife was like, your legs are so strong. So if you are pregnant and you're wondering or you're trying to get pregnant, get your leg strength up because that will help you.
Yeah.
The only thing that hurt was like his head. Like when I got there, I was like, does he have hair? Does it have hair? And she was like, yeah, I feel hair. And once he started coming through, they were like, yeah, you can see dark hair.
Yeah. It was... It's crazy because she would have these intervals of pushes where she was like yelling and then holding her breath and yelling. And the best one that worked for her was holding, like, pretty much holding it in.
Yeah,
don't
like,
yell out.
The midwife was like, don't yell, put it all into your push. So it was like weird. When I was done laboring, I was like, oh, my throat hurts a little bit. But yeah, and I like reached down. She was like, you could feel its head. And I like reached down, and I don't know why I didn't expect it to be so large. Like, even though it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel he has a tiny little head.
He does, but like coming out of that area, you're like,
I mean, this right here compared to this.
Well, the area it's coming out of is horrific.
Kidding. I know it's gonna.
That was the only thing that hurt was when his head started coming out all the way. Like when it got, I was like, that hurts. But, like, the midwife was like, I'm shocked. Like, you are not a typical first-time mom at all. And, like, this does not happen. So I had him within 5 hours. And I didn't tear or anything, thank goodness. Thank goodness for our midwife. I felt her putting, like, warm towels on while I was pushing and, like, to stretch the area out a little bit. And during it, at one point, she was like, stop, 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 slow down, slow down, slow down. And I think that, like, prevented me from tearing because...
It was going too fast.
Yeah, she was like, it's going...
She's like, your body needs to adjust.
So, because their head rocks back and forth, like it comes out a little bit and goes back in just to stretch out the area so you don't tear.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank goodness for our midwife because that was a saver right there. But yeah, they were like, this does not happen. This is so crazy.
Great experience, though.
But it was such a good experience. It was fast and I didn't, and she was even like, I can't believe you're talking in between pushing. Like, nobody does that. Like,
yeah, she's doing real good.
So I was like, oh, I just feel like I talk a lot anyways. So
yeah.
It was what was comfortable to me.
Yeah. The biggest thing, like, she was kind of in the mindset. And psychologically, she was already prepared for, like, something big.
And that's what one of the other midwives said, like, I want to talk to the birth class we're going to.
Yeah.
But she was like, that's interesting that you kept preparing for worse. So it was like, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah. So just, I mean, that psychological...
I mean, it's not painless. I will be honest on that.
But being psychologically prepared helped out a lot.
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
And, like, during it, I don't know, like, there's parts where I don't fully remember. Like, I feel like it's such a weird, like, out-of-body experience. So, and like I said, I felt super loud, and, like, the midwife and everyone was like, you weren't even loud, like, and she's like, it's because you're in your own head, like, you're in this weird space that's, like, in your own head, so that you feel like you're super loud, but you're really not. So, we didn't have, I almost made playlists and everything, and I'm glad that I didn't, because, like, that would have been worthless. We didn't have anything on, and we just had him. And then after I had him, the placenta came out within, like, 5 minutes, and it feels like nothing just, like, plops out.
Yeah.
And,
it was the after effect.
Yeah, it was after when I was, like, trying to nurse him, and we were sitting there.
The uterus was trying to contract back to its
normal size. I started, like, having a lot of clots because it just didn't want to contract. And, like, the midwife was telling me that sometimes when you have a fast birth, your body's still in shock and, like, what is happening. And the reason I had so much blood in the car was because, like, fast dilation. And a lot of people said that dilating hurt, but, like, I didn't really feel anything.
Like, it was crazy because, like, so it was a day before, 2 days before? It was 2 days before, or was it Sunday? Saturday is when we walked. So, no, Sunday is when we walked, and then you went into labor Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So, Sunday when we went for a walk, was it Sunday?
I think it was, because you were like, do I go to work?
Like, yeah, where you were, so she was, like, contracting a little bit, but it was, like, pre-labor.
Yeah, like, now that I know.
So she was, like, contracting, she was having a hard time walking, and I'm like, I'm ready to run,
like, I could
go get
not
the car,
walk.
come
I was
back,
like,
heck no. And I was like, ooh, we're not walking, because we were normally walking about like 2 miles, 2+ miles.
Yeah, we walked like 2 miles a day.
We kept it at that, and I was like, okay, cool, this is a good walk. And then after that, I was like, nope, we're not doing that. So I was like, we're going to keep it at like a mile, if that. So we went for a walk. We were going, and I was like ready to run. She was having a hard time, and then afterwards, she was just like, oh no, I'm good.
I bounced down the yoga ball, everything, and then like all of a sudden the contractions, which now I know they were like pretty much pre-labor Braxton Hicks type. They just stopped. And so he was like, do I go to work? Do I not? And that was on my actual due date. And then I was like, just go, because, like, I don't know. And, like, I lost my mucus plug in pieces. I didn't lose the whole thing. So, like, I know some people have asked, like, did you lose the thing and then go right into labor? But I just lost it in chunks, like, 2 weeks before. Just like, oh, there's mucus. But yeah, it was a really crazy experience, but it was amazing.
Her water breaking was leaking just minor.
Yeah, it was just leaking. I filled like 3 pads eventually, but...
It was crazy. But that was kind of actually... No, I would have called out, but that was kind of the reason why I didn't go to work, is because I wasn't sure if it was labor or not, or... I mean, we were close to it, but we weren't sure how close we were to it. And especially, I thought it was that day, and then after that, it just mellowed out. So I was like, what if there's going to be two more times that happens?
And I had made an appointment with the regular OB to have my 41-week checkup, because, you know, if we went to 41 weeks, they wanted to make sure fluids were good and everything. So, thankfully, I got to cancel that, because I was 40 weeks in 3 days.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. And so after, I did bleed a lot, like more than typical, but not like a dangerous amount. And of course, you need to have health care professionals that you trust, and that's why we went with our birth center and our midwives, because we trust them and we like trust their judgment.
Yeah, because she gave us the big pointer. They gave us the big pointer, I should say. Make sure to stay hydrated before you go in. There's people that don't drink enough water, have enough electrolytes, and they go in there and they're just like, they're half exhausted because they're malnourished.
And I drank water during labor and everything. We brought food and everything, but I didn't eat during it because I was in active labor and I didn't want anything.
Yeah.
But after, I got tea and honey, and that was really good. Yeah, it was crazy. And when he came out, P actually helped deliver him.
Yeah, I caught him. It was kind of crazy because then it's like you saw the head pop out here. Let me see if I can get it on the camera. So it's like his head popped out like this, and then he just like.
And his cord was around him, so he got him.
Yeah. So I was like, oh man. So
midwife.
I pulled the cord around. I looped it back around the other way it should have been, and it was crazy. And I was. At the guy's side, I was like nervous. I'm like, oh man, last thing I want to do is get butterfingers while I'm catching my baby. So I was like, or our baby. But I was like, oh my god, here he goes. And I was like, okay. So I was so focused on catching him. And I was like, man, there's a lot of blood, a lot of slime.
It was. When I reached my hand down and felt his head, and his poor head had so much blood on it after. He had like dried blood all over.
Yeah, it did. But pulled him right out. We didn't realize what he was. We're like...
He just like... They just put him on my chest.
Just put him right on her stomach, right off the back.
And they like covered him up. And then I'm like holding him for like a few minutes. And then I'm like, wait, we don't even know what we had. Yeah. Like, did you see? And he's like, no. Mm-mm. And so he had to like lift up the blanket and see.
And lift his leg. And then I was like, oh, it's a boy. And she was like... You can actually see it in the birthing video.
Yeah.
Her face was like...
I might be able to put a clip. I want to put some of the birth video on here or in here, but it's really hard because it's vulgar.
Everything.
Yeah, like you see everything, which I don't mind, but of course you can't put that really on YouTube.
No. Maybe we got some shots in the apartment. Maybe we will.
Yeah, we'll probably put something together.
Just a little bit like that, where she's kind of talking about it, and she literally hands over the camera because she's like, "Nope, I'm not feeling this." She's like, "Put that away."
That was tough.
So she gave up on that camera thing.
But he got a good angle of when we were in the birth center, and thank goodness the assistant midwife... You're stepping on me. The assistant midwife was there taking photos and putting together like a video on our phones, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
And I can put pictures in, definitely. But it was amazing. And then after was just a little hard with the like my uterus not contracting, so she gave me like a uterine massage, which actually hurt more than like labor or anything. Yeah. That hurt more.
She was digging deep.
And like squishing out the clots. That hurt worse than...
Yeah, because she was going right above, like right up here. And she was just like chopping down right at the abdomen area. And I was like, ooh, all those muscles are already kind of trying to get back now. And
yeah, that was the roughest part. Honestly, that hurt more than anything. But it was nice. I mean, it made me feel good that the midwives were impressed with like my pain tolerance, because I didn't, of course, you've never been through it, you don't know. And then a lot of people are like, you're gonna go unmedicated, you're not gonna have the option, like you're crazy, you know. And then on the other hand, there's people that say like, you know, sometimes you can have a euphoric experience doing unmedicated labor and everything. But it's just, I mean, the decision's different for everyone and every family. It might not be right for you, and it might not be safe for you. You know, the midwives do evaluate and make sure that it is safe for you to birth, you know, without hospital intervention and stuff.
Yeah.
And the hospital's close and everything. But, yeah, that was the hardest part, was after. But, you know, the midwife told us, like, when you have a really fast labor, your body is still like, wait, what's going on? Like, this was too fast. I don't know what happened. So that's pretty much like my body was trying to catch up and be like, wait, what happened? We're already done. We already had this baby. So.
And that was the other thing with me not speeding is, I mean, it was an intense situation, you know. Mentally, we were kind of already prepared. I mean, you have to prepare mentally together and separately in a way. So, I mean, my thing was if she's freaking out and she's doing all this, someone's got to stay calm. So that was my thing, is like, all right, I got to stay calm. So that's why no speeding. What's the point of speeding? Stressing it out. So I was just taking it nice and mellow.
Literally every red light, I was like, no, not a red light.
And I was like, it's all right. It's cool.
I was like, oh my gosh. But I kept thinking in my head, like, I kept popping up when I was not having a contraction and, like, looking around and being like, okay, I think I only have 2 contractions before we get there. Like, they're 5 minutes apart. I think we'll be there in 2 contractions. And then the next time I was like, okay, just 1 contraction left. And even if it wasn't, it was helpful for me to be like, okay, only 1 more now. Only 1 more now. Because
And then when the midwife was saying, "Oh, so you guys are about 20 minutes away," I looked at her and was like, "Nah, I think I can make it in I think it's 10 minutes away." It was probably closer to 20.
It definitely is. 'Cause it was...
But I sat there and said, 10 minutes. Nah, we'll make it there in 10 minutes.
So she was ready and we were ready.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
was
crazy.
Yeah, they were like, literally your next baby, you might sneeze and it'll come out.
Yeah.
Which I'm not getting too pumped up for having the same type of labor, who knows. But I'm thankful that it went the way it did. It couldn't have gone better. It is still scary to think about. Recovery has still been hard, you know. I thought recovery would be easier, and I've posted about it on Instagram. I thought, like, since I didn't tear and since I did vaginal and, you know, since it was unmedicated, that I would be just, I don't know. I just expected it to be easier, but it really was. It's hard. It's
hard both ways.
Yeah, it's hard anyway, you know. I think a C-section is so hard. Like, people that get through that, I, like, can't imagine.
Yeah, it's hard for both ways and that, and then it's also hard for the two individuals.
Because he had to do everything. I mean, I didn't change one diaper for the first, like, 5 days of Arkham's life. And I felt, like, bad about it. But I couldn't get up if I got up, I was out of breath and my stomach muscles, I mean, my stomach is still sore. I do wear, like, a belly band sometimes. But the recovery is intense and, like...
She did super good, though. She did really good.
Thankfully for him, he was cooking and cleaning and taking Arkham and changing diapers. He had never changed a diaper before, but he changed all his first diapers for the first 5 days. Got him. We really had him in a diaper the whole time because it was hot.
I had a good idea of how a diaper was changed, though. I just approached it different.
So... And he took care of his belly button. His belly button fell off within the first 3 days.
3-4 days.
So...
He just, the only thing that he would accumulate from there on out is just kind of scabs. But that's it.
So yeah, it was a lot. I mean, I won't lie to you. It's not easy. But it's doable. I mean, I'd say like a month before... Like, I was never worried about labor. And then like a month before, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like there's no turning back. I have to do this. Like...
Yeah.
We're having this baby and there's no choice. So I kind of started to feel like, oh my gosh, like, what's going to happen? But I just kept remembering, like, my body made this baby and, like, we know each other and, like, everything's going to be fine. Like, there's no option. We're going to have this baby no matter what. So.
Yeah, be just guy-wise, be strong support.
And that was helpful to me, too, because I told him, like, sometimes when I get a pain, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, can I do this? This hurts. Like, can I do it? And he was like, you can do it. Like, of course you can do it. Like, you're made for this. You can do it. So that was helpful. And...
Yeah, being the huge support. That was a big thing.
I mean, I, like, commend anyone that does it alone because I just can't imagine. Like, that was part of my other thing is I felt so guilty for, like, people that have to do it alone or, like, their husbands or partners can't stay home from work, you know, because I was like, how would you do it? Like, how could I do this? And then our midwives came to check on us the day after our newborn exam, and he was latching really good from the beginning. We had to work on his latch, but he has a strong suckle, and my milk came in day 3, so it's been all good. He's totally nursing, exclusively breastfed, and I have so many things of milk from the Haka stored up, so we are doing well, and I just wanted to introduce you to baby Arkham and share our birth story with you and maybe some clips and pictures of whatever I can here. Because I didn't get to formally do that, and I didn't want to post a new video till I shared our birth story, because I feel like you can't just post a newborn essentials and postpartum essentials without sharing the baby.
Yeah.
So if you want to check us out on Instagram, I will leave my tag here. If you want to subscribe, please do so if you're not already, and click the little bell so you get alerted when we post, usually Wednesday and Fridays. But this is Arkham. Let me lift him up for you, even though he's asleep.
Yeah. Oh, there he is, baby boy.
And yeah, we were shocked he was a boy.
Yeah.
I was shocked for
Yeah.
sure. I did not expect that.
We weren't going for boy or girl. We didn't. We were just like...
We just thought it was a girl.
Yeah, we just thought it was a girl. We wanted a baby. That's it.
Yeah. Didn't matter either way, but now I'm so happy that we have a sweet little boy.
We're blessed to get this little guy.
Thank you so much for watching. We're glad you tuned in. We hope that this helped you or entertained you. Let us know down below what your experience was like, or if you have questions that maybe we didn't answer here for either me or P, like let us know down below and I'll happily get back to you. You can reach out to me on Instagram. Again, I'll put the tag here. And please subscribe so you don't miss us. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Say bye.